Hello and welcome back to my channel. In my last video in this series where I shared about unity in marriage, I want to share in this video lesson number 4 of the 7 lessons I have learned in our 7 years of marriage. Stay tuned. Society has assigned to us all gender roles on how we should live our lives. There's an expectation of what a man should do and what a woman should do. And when it comes to marriage, there's an expectation of what the role of the husband is and what the role of the wife is. So the man generally is seen as the breadwinner of the family. He's supposed to go out there, make a living, and come home and look after the family. The woman traditionally stays at home and looks after the home and looks after the children. In modern society, these roles are very fluid. These roles change constantly. Every marriage, consciously or unconsciously, leans to a particular philosophy of how the marriage should work. I just want to share in this video how we learned what works for our family and how we have taken that forward. In the beginning of our marriage, my wife was the breadwinner of our home. Even though I worked, but I spent more time at home than she did. She was the first to leave home and the last to get back home. I grew up in a home where my dad was the breadwinner and he left home, went to work, came back, and my mom was home all the time looking after us and keeping the home. Naturally, that would have been the model of marriage that I would have used in my home. But when I realized that the dynamics were different, then it meant that I had to do something different in my own home. So when my wife went to work and I was home, it was my duty to keep the home going. I had to clean, I had to wash, I had to cook, and I did all these things without feeling any sense of belittlement because I knew that I was working together in partnership with my wife to keep our home going. I wasn't going to sit back home watching TV or fold my hands and wait for her to come back from work to prepare me a meal or to wash the clothes. And I had to even do this and more when we became pregnant with our first child. And for anyone who knows Angela, in the first few months of her pregnancy, she's completely useless. And why did I do these things? I learned very early that I couldn't use the same model of marriage that my parents used in my home. I needed to make sure that I was flexible and adaptable in my own marriage to make it work. Fast forward to a few years later when we moved to the UK and I became the breadwinner of the home. That didn't change who I was and the role I played in our home. I am the one who cleans the house. I am the one who changes the sheets in the house. I mow the lawn. I do the laundry. I bath the kids. You can call me husband material 1,000,000 yards and you will be right. I'm not saying these things to prove that I am the best husband in the world, even though I believe I am. I guess the point I'm making is that we do not need to limit ourselves to what society defines as gender roles, but it is worth looking at what works for your family that will ensure that you're keeping your family together and happy. One thing I left out is I do not cook as much as I used to do because tell you what, my wife is an amazing cook and I enjoy her meals. So why should I be cooking when that is her forte? I think the key to all of this is how do you maximize each other's potentials, maximize each other's strengths, at the same time covering for each other's weaknesses. I strongly believe that to achieve this level of efficiency in our marriages, then we have to, as individuals, acknowledge that our individual roles are intrinsically equal in worth, but at the same time distinct and unique in design in relation to our role and our functions in our homes. It's about understanding that one isn't better than the other, but actually one complements the other. In our home, when it comes to receiving guests, I make sure that the house is tidy, everything is in the right place, and then Angela makes sure that the food is cooked and everything is ready. And then she makes sure the guests are entertained. Because really for me, after 2 to 3 minutes of a conversation, I naturally just switch off. So sometimes we can be on a dinner table and then she will look at my face when she realizes that I've switched off. I have learned that in most cases, you do not marry someone who is the same as you. In fact, you actually marry someone who is opposite to you in many aspects. And that is why I feel that when people use the word irreconcilable differences or incompatibility, I do think that they are really silly excuses that people give when it comes to reasons why they want to end their relationships. I am not suggesting that our approach or our model to our marriage is the ideal model. No, it is for you to think and decide for yourself what works for your family. What is important, however, is that we are all open and honest to accept changes that we might have to do to enable our marriages to thrive. It may mean that you need to step up to do something that you naturally wouldn't want to do, just for the greater good of the marriage succeeding. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to cook again. I will still cook, I hope. I do hope you've learned a thing or two from these thoughts shared in this video. Please consider subscribing to this channel and hitting the notification icon so that you do not miss any content that I'll be sharing on this platform. Until I come your way again with lesson number 5, thank you for watching and God bless us all.